Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode number 56, the show about Linux. Not just Linux distros, not just Linux applications, not just Linux news, not just a couple of guys talking about just whatever we want and saying it's a show about Linux. It's everything about Linux. I mean, we're talking about all those things, plus whatever Door brings to the table. It's a lot of fun. If you're an expert, intermediate, novice, it doesn't matter. I think you're going to get something out of the show. Let me introduce the man who brings the goods every week, consistently, in an amazing fashion. I don't know how he finds all this stuff, but he always does. If there's one thing I never worry about, ever, each time before we do this show, is did Door bring the goods? Does Door have content? When I talk about Door, I'm talking about Steve McLaughlin, the Door-to-Door Geek. What's going on, Door?
Besides the earth rattling, not a lot.
Tell us about how devastating it is to live in the northern U.S. these days, or East Coast.
Well, yeah, I live north of Baltimore, Maryland. I work south of Baltimore, Maryland. I work in what they say is a 4-story building, but the ground floor is called ground floor, so it's actually a 5-story building. I was on the 4th floor when it happened. 5.9 quake, felt as far south as Georgia, far north as Vancouver or Ontario, Canada. I was south of Baltimore, so I was substantially closer than that distance. In a meeting, needless to say, we could feel it. The guy sitting next to me had a unplanned, unscheduled event in his pants.
What?
So he kind of immediately went home.
He peed himself?
No. Number 2.
Because of the earthquake?
Yeah, we were up a little high, and quite literally, stuff was moving at least, I'd say, 3-4 inches.
No, are you serious?
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that bad. That's crazy. He did that. It was that bad that people were doing that, huh? Pooping themselves.
Well, I can tell you this. People on the opposite side of our floor in a conference room literally heard what they said was cracks and rips.
Wow.
When we went back in the building, they said they heard the cracks and rips. There's a stairwell going all the way up, all the way down. If you walk from the bottom all the way up, every floor you went up, you could see cracks going around the entire stairwell. When I went to my floor, right outside my drop ceiling.
Are you still having an earthquake? Because I keep losing you.
Well, because I have this Twitch.tv video turned on. Let me turn it off.
Hang on. Hang on. You still there, Door?
Yes, I am.
All right. I stopped the recording real quick.
Okay.
Anything else going on? Bandwidth-wise?
Shouldn't be. I mean, I thought I had.
Let me check my end, all right? I'm doing a speed test. My router has been acting a little funky lately. Give me a sec.
Let me turn off the too. Can't hurt.
Download speed's looking good. God, they make speed tests look more fancy every day.
Yeah.
All right, let me call you back on Skype, okay?
Okay.
All right, bye. We will be back in one momento, guys. I guess we can't blame Door's wife. We used to blame Door's wife for watching Netflix, but she's not home tonight, so.
Well, she the door.
She what?
When I was doing. She opened the door as I was doing the Jeopardy theme song.
Oh, that's what it is. You were perfect before then. Door, unplug that Netflix.
Well, here's the bright side. 2 weeks, I'm going to OLF. 2 more shows. Well, 4 more shows. There, I am going to be given extra hardware that I'm going to be able to turn into a true...
Door, we can't do it. I can't do it unless you want to just go audio, man. Tell me what you want to do.
Well, I don't want to not do it. Let me do this.
I'm catching like every other word.
It's that bad?
Yes.
Okay, well, did it clean up at all?
Yep.
Right away?
Pretty much. You sound okay now. Give me a test. 1, 2, 3.
Test 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2 1 2.
Again?
Test 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2 1 2.
It's still a little fuzzy. Let me just call you right back, okay?
Okay.
Without video. You can turn it off if you want. Try that.
Test 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2 1 2.
That's weird. What's your bandwidth looking like?
Do you want me to reboot that box? Because I haven't rebooted it since probably last Tuesday.
Yeah, give it a reboot.
17. Yeah, 18 down. It looks 4 up.
Yeah, that should be fine. You want to give it a reboot?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Sorry, folks. We'll be back shortly. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Just going to put on the little Podnutz logo for a sec.
I do know exactly where I was at.
Okay. 1, 3, 2, 1, go for it.
The drop ceiling right out of where my cube was, I could see the drop ceiling was literally bent like 30 degrees, and around the wall right outside my cube was a big crack. Needless to say, as soon as I got back up to my desk, filling out a leave sheet, bye. And I know at least one person in my...
Yeah, I lost you, dude. I lost you. Let's see. Let me call you.
Do you want me to try to call you from this other computer?
I guess.
This one. I mean, it can't hurt.
Yeah, give it a shot. No problem.
30 seconds to plug them.
Sorry, guys. I hope this is not on my end, but my speeds look good. It can't be my end.
Hey, Steve.
Yo.
And I did just power that other one off.
Okay.
Test, 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 test.
No, Door, it ain't happening, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, dude. What do you think?
Let me see something. Let me see. How do I turn off my own video?
Your video's off on my end.
Okay, you got to know that. I don't know. Testing.
Let me check the test quality here.
I don't know what else it could be.
All right. Well, let me just make sure it's not my end, okay?
Okay. I get paid by the hour. Take your time.
Okay.
And that damn podnutz jet, I tried to get it to take me next year to scale. They acted like it didn't exist. Yeah. I blame Skype for this because, you know.
Sure. I would
It's
too.
easy.
If I were you, I would too.
Doobie doobie doo. Doo. Doobie doobie
Let me just reboot this machine. That's the only thing I could think of.
Okay.
Call you back. Sorry, guys. Be back in a couple minutes.
And I'm doing this easier for you to see if there's chops.
There's chops. I lost your audio for a second. This is weird. Do you know of anything that could be on your end, dude? Does it only have is Netflix on now, and does it only happen when that's happening, or do you think it's something else?
Anytime I ever do video conference stuff,
It's always
the last thing.
It's always on, even when they're doing other. You come on the other shows and stuff, right?
Well, the only non-podnutz shows I do don't require video, just audio.
No, I mean in the podnutz shows, like on Android App Addicts and stuff. Is it usually running?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, one thing I can do is I can reset my router. And after that, I don't know what else to do.
All right, let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Thanks, man. Are you guys watching live? You seeing any kind of stuttering or anything on my end? Because if you are, then I might have a problem too. Like with me. Or am I coming through pretty clear? Cool. All right. Thank you. Wow. That was fast.
Hey, Steve.
You rebooted your router that fast? Damn, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What is that thing that reboots so fast?
Yeah, honestly, Linksys WRT 54G. And that's the only way I think anyone would ever know the full model number of their router if it's a WRT 54G.
You're right, exactly. All right, let's give it a shot.
Okay.
Ready, go.
Yeah, and I do know there was one building who, after coming up and seeing the stuff in the building, had to be assisted out of the building by 2 people because like a panic attack struck.
Wow.
So I mean, yes, people on the West Coast have them all the time, whatever. But imagine, if you will, living in Florida your whole life and then waking up one morning and having 2 feet of snow outside your door. Kind of the same thing. We're not kind of used to it up here.
Right. So what's happening?
Mild panic. And then when I left to go home, I was on 695, where typically some people do 65, some people do 60. Everybody was doing 80 to 85 miles an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
They just wanted to get home.
Went with the flow.
Amazing. I think the world is trying to tell us something. I think the world is trying to say it doesn't like Philly that much.
Well,
hit pause on that. Let's see what happens. Tell me when you're back with this door. You back?
Am I not back with you?
You back? You weren't. Now you are. Okay. Go for it, door.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was just different, you know, and people in TeamSpeak were very happy. The first place they heard about it was on the Podnutz TeamSpeak, not on Twitter, not on Identica, not on CNN, not on local news, not on radio, but Podnutz TeamSpeak.
Wow. All right, dude. Well, I'm either going to have to reboot my router or just going to go audio. Let me do one more test. I'm sorry, man. I just can't do the show because you sound fuzzy.
You don't have to apologize to me.
Hang on a sec. Just do a speed test.
Because I mean, I can try to reboot the router.
I thought you did that.
The modem, the modem. But you know,
but what?
I don't have much faith in the modem acting better or worse from a reboot because it's a Comcast piece of poop. Actually, let me do this. Because me doing this here, the logic just kind of set in. Me doing a speed test from my house to Baltimore, Maryland, let's just say isn't accurate for our needs. Tampa, Florida, that's where we need to do a speed test too. Ping test 97 milliseconds, download speeds 15 megabits down, 14, 15, 16, 17.3 it says.
Wow.
Upload speed 3.5.
That should be plenty. It should be plenty. I don't get it.
And there's no place in Skype to say video quality. You know what I mean? Where you can say high def, medium def, like favor bandwidth or favor, you know.
Well, her movie must have downloaded because you're okay now. So,
Or she hit pause.
all right, let's keep going. You're good now.
Okay.
Start whenever you're ready.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, Lennox didn't tell me the earthquake was coming, so it's not perfect. With that said, we're going to go into our first topic. The basic of this week is themes. In Windows, it's kind of hard to theme Windows. You either have to install an executable that does all this extra stuff, or you have to have Windows Plus or something to that effect where you can actually theme it. Linux, by its very nature, everything is themable, but I'll say the super extremely light desktops don't really have themes because there's not much to them and they want to be as light as possible.
Okay.
When you get to the full featured side though, like the GNOME and the KDE, they are ultra themable. The first link is to kde-look.org. What this site and the next site I'm going to talk about are really public collections where anybody can submit. So because anybody can submit, you get some pointless, non-pretty themes and icon sets and emoticon themes and stuff like that. But you also get some really nice ones. I do like their rating system and their most downloaded count system. It really helps you if you need to just quickly find something that looks good. It really does make it easy. And I got to say, some of the themes in here are really gorgeous. And I think to the layman, the best compliment I heard from some of these themes when I was showing people was, that looks awfully Mac-like.
KDE is known for that, right?
Yes, but I'll say any super polished desktop seems to head in that same direction. But KDE, with a lot of time, a lot of KDEs have a dock bar, it seems like, and the dock bar is one of the unique identifying things with Mac.
Gotcha.
And by unique,
hang on a sec, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Your video is frozen. Let's try to unfreeze it.
It is froze. I can see it's froze here.
Aha. You want to unplug and plug in that camera again or something?
Let me do that. Let's see if that works.
Okay, you're back. All right. One of those shows, eh? One of those shows?
Apparently, yes.
All right. Go ahead and continue.
So, yeah, I mean, if you want to at least get away from the default, you can go here and you can get good ideas. The other good thing is the open nature of these KDE themes. You download the file, you can extract the file, and you can see all of the pieces that come together to make the theme. Right. I.e., you can take one of them, edit them in a image editor, put it back, and now you've customized the custom theme. Now the sister site is gnome-look.org. I honestly think it's the exact same framework. I mean, it is everything, but now it's geared towards GNOME. And to be honest, some of the GNOME things, I had people tell me that looks kind of Mac-like. To me, GNOME is a little bit more rubber hits the road functional, where KDE takes a little bit more of learning to use from what everybody tells me, because I don't use it, but can be more dynamic, I'll say. I don't want to diss on KDE.
Right.
I'm a guy. I've seen some phenomenal looking themes on here. I've implemented more than a couple, and it's super easy. In Ubuntu, you basically open up your appearance manager, go to themes, click a button, add new themes. You point it at the file, and you got a new theme. You know, there's not a lot of legwork or effort involved. So when you go to apply these themes, it's really kid in a candy store kind of thing, because you can just have at it.
Huh. They look pretty cool, man. What's the sites?
kde-look.org and gnome-look.org.
Very cool.
And I'm sure if you're using XFCE or LXDE, which is like the next step down in functionality and a little bit faster, I'm sure they have some themes. I'm sure they don't have as much, but I'm sure they have some themes. Okay. Next thing I wanted to mention, I actually honestly held off for 3 weeks, I think, because I wanted to look at it. I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about. Okay. I say this a lot, Steve. Imagine, if you will, you have your pristine OS running just how you like it, everything in its place, applications are working just how they're supposed to work, and then you see something and you're like, ooh, I really would like to try that. But you don't want to do the hassle of a dual boot or a fresh install or a virtual machine or anything like that. There's a thing, basically, it's going to be coming out, I believe, in 11.10, it said. There is a way you can implement it into your own system, and it's a way you can basically install something in a sandbox, is the best way I can explain it. They don't call it a sandbox, but you can install something in an isolated environment, but it will appear like anything else on your operating system in Ubuntu, is what it's really geared towards right now, and play with it. So you could technically have Firefox 3, Firefox 4, Firefox 5, and Firefox 6 all installed on your computer at the same time and running all at the same time, and testing 3 of them if you want, and only really having one truly installed.
So it's a way to install apps in a sandbox so you can test them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really early-ish. I really think by the time 11.10 comes out, it's going to be much more closer to polish and presentable. When you go to install an application, there's going to be an option to test drive an application. So it's going to be easier for the end user to understand this is a test drive. You click the test drive, it does this install, you can play with it. It's not going to change any other application on your system or any other settings on your system. And then when you're done, you can get rid of it, and it will be like it was never there.
Interesting. What's it called?
I always wanted to say it's called Bleeding Edge, but it's called Glimpse.
Okay. Where do you get Bleeding Edge from? Just a different type of app that does the same thing?
Well, there was something else a couple weeks before that called Bleeding Edge, and what it is, it's like Night, if you will, of Bleeding Edge software, where you download this thing called Bleeding Edge, and you can install Bleeding Edge stuff. Not at all the same, because this could really kibosh your system. Glimpse, very safe, very safe. Yeah.
Cool.
I like it a lot. This next thing, it's kind of niche.
Right.
One of the shortcomings, I will say, to the new person to Linux and have to go and type a command in the command prompt is, it's not easy sometimes to know, is this thing working? Did that thing work? Did my computer freeze up? What's happening? I don't see anything happening, because you type a command and it just says, and then it sits there for 5 minutes and then it comes back. There was stuff going on in the background while I was doing that. Sometimes it's a download. There's it's called Monitoring Progress with Pipe Viewer. Pipe is a function, if you will, in Linux. It's literally like a pipe. All a pipe does, its job, its task, its goal in life, is to take something that's an output, connect to that, and to an input, and connect to that, and funnel output to input, output to input. What this pipe does in the command line is it takes the process of downloading a file and outputs it to a pipe command that will then show you at least a DOS-based progress bar, showing you it's doing something, it's doing something. If it's a really long process, like you're deleting 50,000 files or something, you can use this as well, and you can see the progress meter going. This is the kind of thing that can save sanity for someone having to do large tasks. My example is when you use DD, which is I call it disk duplicator, but I know it's not disk duplicator. It's a command where you can take any image, folder, file, drive, or whatever, and push it to a single file, or do the inverse. Take a single file, like a .img file, and expand it to a partition, a drive, or something else. But it never tells you what it's doing. You hit it, and it just sits there. And then anywhere from 3 to 20 minutes later, it says it's done. So this is the kind of command that can definitely help you not cancel out of a process that's actually working.
So it allows you to show on a progress meter how much of the job's done, so you just know that it's working.
Right. And it's called Pipe Viewer.
Pipe Viewer.
Yeah, and if you go to do a sudo apt-get, or you go to your Synaptic or Ubuntu Software Manager, it's called PV, just Paul Victor, PV.
That's
Pipe
it.
Viewer.
Wow, that's pretty cool. It's like, and it's like DOS based. I mean, of course, I'm not comparing DOS. It's just like command line looking interface. It's not. Did I really say DOS on a Linux show? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's the same.
It's command line. Like the graphical user interface is like ASCII, basically.
Right. Well, because sometimes, like we said in the past, when people tell you to do things over the internet, they tell you to do it in the command line because it's the lowest common denominator. Right. They know it's going to work. Right. So a lot of times they tell you to do stuff in the command line. Well, by just using these examples, you can say, okay, well, now let me pipe that to this. And then you can, to the PV command, then you can watch it work.
I see. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good one, man.
And I did include what I entailed as a non-glamorous screenshot. You see two greater than, you see a greater than symbol, a equal sign, and a less than symbol. No, less than equal greater sign.
And that little thing moves across the screen?
Well, it expands to the right as it's getting closer to being done. So at least you're not doing something. Next thing I want to talk about is actually kind of one-eyed guy in the twitch.tv live broadcast each and every Tuesday night, 9:30. He asked me, how was I doing with my HP touchpad, to which I went, I'm doing great, because I don't have it anymore because it was causing me tumors.
Causing you tumors. It's like you got out in the nick of time. I mean, I think you're lucky that you returned that thing, and then it flopped after. I mean, then they made the announcement after you returned it. I mean, it was just you got out luckily, I think.
Well, I wouldn't even put it like that. I would put it, the reason they got out was exactly because of the end user having my kind of experience. So it was bound to happen. Yeah. There was just so much I couldn't do with it. It really made me upset.
And we don't want an upset door.
Well, 2 to 3 days after I returned it, HP made an announcement. They want to get out of all non-enterprise server hardware. So they don't want to make desktops and they don't want to make laptops anymore. They also said they want to get out of the mobile device market, i.e. touchpad, but because there's no money in it. But we would like to offer WebOS to other manufacturers to put on their devices.
Why would anyone? Well, go ahead. Tell me. Why?
No, nobody would.
Right.
They said, we're not going to do it anymore because we can't make money off of it. But you can. No.
They really, that's what I heard too. They're getting out of like the laptop market and desktop market. It's not profitable.
Well, they said they want to basically outsource it, like IBM selling to Lenovo kind of thing.
Right.
They don't want to be hassled with it. They want to be the IBM, I guess.
I guess so. Well, if they stop making crap laptops, they might sell more. Put some metal on them.
Thank you.
I mean, they are finally starting to do that, but Apple makes money with hardware. It's not enterprise hardware. I mean, just change your marketing strategy. Don't abandon the whole division.
Right. Well, that was one of the things that was said after the fact. Apple sells one laptop. To make the same amount of profit, HP had to sell 7 laptops.
I believe it, but make quality laptops like Apple. Like, why did everybody ever think of this? Like, okay, fine, they make the Envy. They charge more than a MacBook. No, make a quality laptop and charge a little less than a MacBook and sell the friggin' things. Don't try to compete with Apple on an even level. Start a little bit lower, make the good hardware, and then bump up from there once people start buying them and getting in. But that's a subtopic for, I think, a whole other show. I don't know what that's a topic for.
I don't know either. But, okay, they said that.
Yes.
Like 5 days after I returned mine, and then like a day after that, all over the U.S., every distributor took the normal price of, I believe, $400 and reduced the price of a touchpad to $99. People who've been around this game understand once that kind of thing happens, the hackers are going to go insane. The pace of stuff that is going to be able to be done on the device increases 10 frigging fold.
So you're going to buy one again, aren't you?
No, I don't have the money. If I had the money, I would, but I don't have the money.
I agree. And hackers are going to go crazy with this thing. It's going to be fun. It's going to be like the cult device. It's going to be like a cult device. Like, everybody's going to want one now.
Oh, yeah. And I was wrong. I was told it actually has a dual 1.2 gigahertz processor in it, which is actually not too shabby. The screen on it, like I said, was gorgeous. I honestly think so.
Okay.
It is a Snapdragon processor, not dual core.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, I don't think it's dual core.
But it's still a modestly good processor. I mean, pretty good. Needless to say, less than 2 days after that announcement came out, how to install Ubuntu Linux on an HP touchpad.
And that was inevitable, though, right, Dor?
Once that announcement was made, ultra inevitable. I mean, literally, I felt like I could have held my breath waiting for it to happen because it would have happened that quick. Now, to be honest, I actually might have. Now, I wouldn't have kept it. Not for $400 for Ubuntu.
No.
But for $99, it is very tempting. And our friend Mike Mono got his order in with Barnes & Noble, I believe. And his is being shipped right now to him.
For $99?
For $99.
Good for Mike Mono.
One of the other things the community is going blitzkrieg about is we want to put Android on it. We want to put Android on it. Good luck. I don't see why you couldn't. But personally, if I had the choice between Android and Ubuntu, I'd like the dual boot.
Yeah, but I mean, Android's tablet based, or I mean, at least has, it lives on phones. Ubuntu's more of a desktop system right now, isn't it?
It is, but I will say their keyboard on their touchscreen looks quite usable.
Okay.
And it seems like that's one of the key defining things to me that makes an operating system usable on a tablet. The screen and the button size matters. Don't get me wrong. And Ubuntu is not technically geared towards that. You can tweak it to do it, but I don't know how pretty or functional it'd be. But the keyboard actually looks functional. And this is at, I don't even know how to say that.
Liliputing. LILIPUTING.com. How to install Ubuntu Linux on an HP touchpad. Do a search for it and you will find that article.
Right. So if you did get your hands on one of these devices, or you can still, you might want to do it just for that alone. The battery life on it, I can tell you, even with Ubuntu on it, should be very respectable. So it could be a useful, functional, portable tablet that's the size of a lunch tray.
Good.
I'll just throw that lunch tray thing in there. Okay. Next, I want to talk about real quick. I honestly got into, thanks to, I was going to call him Tegster, Timster.
Oh, man. It's coming natural now.
I know, but he doesn't listen to this. That's okay. Because he was looking for mind mapping software. And mind mapping software has nothing to do with mapping your mind. Okay. Let's just get that clear. it's mapping ideas and or like organizing ideas, I guess you could say.
Okay.
It typically goes in the fashion of, to have this, you need to do this first. And then after that, you need to do this. And when you do this, you should do this. So it's a way of laying things out on quote unquote paper so you can better organize, keep track, understand, and do things.
Right.
And the one piece of software that he, I believe, found was a piece of software called FreeMind, FREEMIND.
Right.
You'll know you found it when it has a little butterfly icon on it. This, to me, I actually used on my Linux box for just a little bit. As you know, I'm not the master of organization, so I really can't use it. I don't comprehend what to do with it.
It's not made for door.
No, but it definitely looked useful. And I will say there was a guy in the Podnutz forums who mind mapped like this, his USB drive. And you're thinking, okay, so he meant his USB drive. No. Hundreds of pieces of software on this guy's thumb drive.
He was on Podnutz Daily. Who was that?
I don't know. And I'm really sorry. I can't remember. But like under antivirus, one of these things, sections, antivirus, he had like 6 things. Awesome. Cookie removal, he had 4. I mean, really detailed sketching, and that's what this is really for. This is really good stuff. And there's other ones. There's one called Xmind Free Plane Compendium, which I believe is actually part of the KDE camp, even though there's not a K in it. So if you are running a KDE desktop, Compendium might be one that could help you do that kind of thing. But I'll say most of these are cross-platform.
Well, the article that you brought, they're all Linux, or you can run them in Linux. So yeah, if they're cross-platform, that's fine. But at least the ones that in this article, you could run them in Linux.
Right. Well, here's how you know, because if you scroll down to Free Plane and Compendium, they're running in Windows XP.
Aha, good eye.
The screenshot.
This is Linuxaria. Linuxaria or Linuxaria.com.
Yeah.
The article's called 6 Ways to Map Your Mind with Linux. I never got into these. They're probably a good idea, but I won't know until I try it, I think.
Yeah, and I'll say, just going to hurry up and insert another one here from this same site. I'll say this site does publish, in my eye, gems, not ultra frequently, not like every day you get something else fantastic, but it does do it kind of frequently. This one I wanted to talk about is actually called 4 Ways to Admin a Linux Box with a Web Interface, i.e. do all of your control panel S stuff like you do in Windows, but remotely in a web interface. So you could have a headless computer. Headless means no monitor, no keyboard, no mouse is connected to the computer, yet you can still do everything you need to do over the internet or over your network.
Right.
The real reason I would mention this is what this really does mean is you only need to learn one interface, okay? Then you install this one interface on a broad spectrum of Linux computers, whether it's Debian, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Slackware, Gentoo, OpenSUSE, whatever, Arch Linux. And when you install this one interface, it looks the same on all of them. So you don't need to learn new hoops, learn new tricks kind of thing to get your same job done. And the one tool on the top of the list, which it should be, is called Webmin, Webmin. I kind of knew about this, but I learned about it, I'll say, from Russ Winter, the Techie Geek. He's the guy that really encouraged me to learn some of the basics and told me a little tips and tricks about how to really take advantage of it.
Now, where is that?
Same website, Linuxaria. If you click on the top, how to, I believe it was 3 down from the top.
Gotcha.
Linux Aria.
Okay.
Linux
All right,
Aria.
cool. Awesome, dude.
Yeah. There's certain sites I keep going back to, and that's kind of one of them.
Okay.
And here's another one that I randomly go back to. It's O Static or OS Tactic.
No static.
Okay, I'll go for that. It's a article which requires you to be a reader,
Okay.
in air quotes, because it definitely explains as it describes, or describes as it explains something. It doesn't just come out and tell you.
Okay.
Okay. It is a guide to open source licensing. And here's the perfect example I'm gonna tell you, Steve. What is the license of your audio cast?
The license of my audio cast?
Mm-hmm.
You mean officially?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me. You tell me.
Well, since you don't have a license for it, it's basically by default non-Creative Commons, your own property. People cannot redistribute it. There are many levels, many layers, many types of open source licensing. And the first rule, I'll say, of open source by the major advocates of it is open source does not mean you cannot make money. Okay. If you want to push your product with the possibility of making money, you really need to understand open source licensing and know how to do it. Me, I honestly don't. I just know some of the basics. This is the kind of article I need to sit down and read. The perfect example is people tell me my other podcast network show, who am I kidding? It needs to be Creative Commons, share alike, non-commercial, which means anyone can take it, anyone can redistribute it, anybody can take a section of it out as long as they give you credit, and say, well, I heard this clip on Linux for the rest of us, and then replay the clip. But they cannot, no matter any circumstance, make money off of that product unless they first consult with you, like legally kind of thing. So it encourages people to take your product and say, hey, listen to this. This is great stuff. Instead of forcing to give someone a link, go here, download this. You know what I mean? So that's just one example. There's actually a lot of different types of licensing.
Go ahead, Dora. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And I highly encourage you, if you're going to make anything, whether it be a set of scripts to get tools done, or if you want to actually make a simple calendaring application, you really need to kind of understand what kind of licenses are out there that you can take advantage of. And the one most popular example that a lot of people say is technically the most free license is the BSD license.
Okay.
The BSD license means I can take my product and publicize it. You can take all of my code, take it in a circle, pull it in, make changes to it, don't show anybody what those changes are, and then you can sell that product. That's freedom. You have the freedom to not share. So know the licenses, honestly, before you even start a product or project up, I say. And this article, or actually set of articles at Static, Static, I think does a good job in explaining it from what I looked at.
It's a short article. I mean, it's like,
well,
but they're all the links. There's all the links I see.
Yeah, there's 4 links at the bottom. First, know the licenses, the unlicensed, a license for no license, FSFE and GPL violations.org, and how to avoid licensing issues. So they're really telling you, have at it. Here's the information. Go forth.
Good. Yeah, it doesn't sound like fun reading, but if you're gonna definitely go in, if you're gonna look starting a business or going into business with this, you need to know this stuff, or this is the stuff your lawyer reads. But whatever you want to do.
It's the kind of thing you as a producer, you really only have to read it once to really know, okay, this is what I want my stuff to be. Yeah. And then basically you just have to brand your stuff with that license.
Gotcha.
And then you're kind of covered. I mean, it ain't hard. There are other places that give you much shorter explanations of what can be done with your license. Many people told me good things about this article. And by many, I mean like 4 or 5 people told me very good things about this article and set of articles, said they really liked how they explained it.
Good one, man. ostatic.com.
Very good. The next one is at Lennox.com, which if anyone doesn't know, if it's at Lennox.com, it's official and possibly very impactful. I don't even know if that's a real word, Steve, but I'm going with it. It's the article is called First Look at Geos.
You usually get it the first time. Don't question yourself, Thor.
Okay,
you got it.
Yeah, JEOSS, which stands for Just Enough Operating System. So I don't know where the other S comes from.
I like that. Yeah, I don't know either. I like the name. What is this thing? Super fast? Slim?
Well, what it is, a lot of people think, and I personally agree with, one of the best, in air quotes, because best is all perspective, server operating systems to use in your small business environment or home environment is Ubuntu, because the amount of free support and free documentation and free forms kind of things, blowing up information about how to do this, how to do that, and applications specifically designed for it are immense. So Ubuntu's great for that. But by default, with convenience, typically you lose a little bit of security. And with convenience comes extra software, which means less performance or more hardware is needed. So what JEOSS is, it is Ubuntu. I believe it's still based on 8.04, which still has support for another 2 years.
Okay.
3 years. It's that version of the long-term support server edition trimmed down, which means smaller footprint, smaller installation, faster processing, but you still have the plethora of applications and informations available to you. So I think this is kind of the best of both worlds.
What do you run this on? What is it meant for, designed for?
It's meant for basically any 586 or greater processor. So if you need a file server and you already know I'm on lower end hardware, I have okay RAM, but I just need something to just work.
So it's meant for like file servers and not much more than that?
Well, anything you can do on a Linux server, really, because Ubuntu has the software choice to it. So you can install a LAMP server, a file server, a media streaming server, a voice video conferencing application, maybe, a instant messaging service, almost anything you can imagine. But it's one of those clean bases you can start with.
Right.
It's like a clean canvas, I'll say, but it's a really light, dynamic canvas.
That's pretty cool. It's one of the definite plus points about Linux is like they just mold distros for just different purposes. That's really cool. We talked about that before.
Yeah. And the whole image to install your CD, the image for that is only 137 megabytes.
Wow.
So, come on. You can't go wrong with that.
Can't go wrong with that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I actually think, we did something close to this last week, but not the same.
Not the same. It was a top 10 list, though.
It was a top 10 list, which I actually despise top 10 list, but this had some good things in it, so I'm going with it. Okay. It said ZDNet 10 things people get wrong about open source. This kind of harkens back. I was talking to Moose, I don't remember if it was on or off air, about how sometimes people come into the convention center of the OLF and somebody tries to hand someone a Linux disk and they look at it and like, you're pirating software, because they don't understand its nature. Okay. Number one thing people get wrong about open source is it's just for Linux. Why, yes, if you look at the percentage of software for Linux and then the percentage of open source software for Linux, it covers a larger percentage than it does in Windows or Mac. But Windows and Mac still have plenty of open source software that will run on it. And more than a couple times, people are running open source and they don't know it. The number 9 thing was it's always free. John Mad Dog and RMS, one of their golden rules are it is not shameful to make money off of open source. Perfect example is Red Hat Linux. They make all of their money off of support, consultation, and customization for customers. The operating system you can download right now for free. You won't get all of the support with the operating system, but you'll get the operating system. So you can make money off it. There's just different models of making money off of it.
Right.
The third one in the list is there's no support. There are plenty of open source applications out there with no support. There's plenty of paid applications out there where there is no support. But there is plenty of open source stuff where you can not only get top-notch support, near instant support, but paid and quality support as well. I personally would rather deal with someone passionate about something than someone coming in suit and tie, code monkey, hating his job, dealing with a product.
Right.
With open source, it seems like they actually enjoy what they're doing just a little bit more, call me a biased person, but whatever. The next thing is you need full access to the source code. You don't. And most of the people don't have access to the source code. Perfect example, Firefox. Firefox is completely open source. Have you ever seen a line of source code from Firefox, Steve?
No.
Have you ever downloaded the source code for Firefox?
No.
No, because you don't have to. You can download pre-compiled binaries that you just install and they work.
Right.
You don't have to know, well, I'll have to go here and type this command. No, you don't. It can work just as smooth as everything else on the market.
But this is a plug for that you have the ability to change it, isn't it?
Well, that's what open source means. You have the option of seeing all the source code. Now, the type of license they have can determine whether or not you can take it, change a couple things, rebrand it, and then release it as your own.
Gotcha.
The number 5, it's just for programmers. I think we already dispelled that, Steve. Number 6, you're breaking the law by adopting open source. Honestly, you might laugh at that, and I might laugh at that, Steve, but there are people in this world that think Jersey Shore is the best show ever. The only important thing in this world today is whether or not the Dallas Cowboys win or not, and that there is nothing for free. You must be a pirate. There just are people out there like that.
Right.
Number 7, you have to be an expert to use it. I think we already debunked that one too, Steve.
That's what every show has been about.
I know, because I'm no expert on
I like to
programming or anything. Well, not with what they're saying.
Okay.
Number 8, it's hard to find. Once again, we debunked that. It's all over the place. It's the easiest to find most of the time. Number 9, freeware and shareware mean open source. Abso-frigging-lutely not. Couldn't be further from the truth. Virtually every piece of shareware I've ever seen is anti-open source. And a lot of freeware, especially on Windows, is absolutely not open source.
Right.
They always, not always, a lot of applications you download will do things to your system that they don't want you to know that they're doing, like inserting registry keys, pinging a server saying, hey, this guy installed me, or something else. And typically with open source, that kind of behavior doesn't last. People kind of get on them pretty bad.
Okay.
And the last one is not many people use it. Ha. Firefox, Thunderbird, Pigeon, Drupal, WordPress, GNU Cache, and Notepad++, just to mention some of them. Anyone with any tech savviness in them at all have at least heard of the majority of those applications I just mentioned. And a lot of people use one or if not more of these applications. The Drupal and WordPress thing, you can't do a website easier than without those two applications.
It's true.
Of course, you want to spend $10 a month on Squarespace, then you can. But
podnutz.com/hostgator.
Exactly. Where you can now get a 1 cent deal for the first month.
Ooh. Didn't even know that.
I know. I just found out about it. But yeah, so that's 10 things people get wrong about open source. Education is a key. Open source is every consumer's friend, is the main really kicking thing behind this. Open source wants to win you over just because, not because they want your money, not because they want to get you to lock in with a thing, because a lot of times they think what they make is better. And then some of them do the same philosophy and say, and we're going to offer you the best support possible if you give us a little bit of money.
All right. It's just a business plan.
Mm-hmm. So I really like it. I really will try to support it. I really like to get behind it because with most of the open source software, it's so easy to walk away from and use something else. They really got to try to keep you as a customer, which I like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good one, Dor.
Yeah, I found that. It's really based off another article. If you go to that first page down, where they take the top 10, and the original people had almost more of a negative slant on it.
That's the one I was showing. That's the article I actually got to. It was techrepublic.com, I think.
Yeah. Same concept, verb differently.
Exactly.
Okay, now this next one, I'm not going to lie, I had to do a little research because it seemed a little vague. Howtoforge.com, which if you don't know, oh my God, you really need to know. Fantastic site because clear, concise, to the point, command line driven, so it works for everybody. Commands clearly stipulated what's a command, what's not a command, and every single command I've ever typed in here has been 100% accurate, which is another plus. I can't really mention how much other people don't do it. Right. This is called install Camfrog Server Advanced 6.0 on Linux or Ubuntu 10.10. On Linux, on Ubuntu 10.10. Yeah. Now I had to stop and look, Steve. I'm not gonna lie. Camfrog services I couldn't access from my job, so I couldn't really look at it a whole bunch.
What is Camfrog?
Okay. Camfrog is video chat room server for Linux, which that's a horrible description in my eyes. It's a video conferencing or video chatting server, which you can install on your own hardware or your own internet server. Okay.
I love the freaking pictures on the homepage, Dora. This looks really freaking sparkling.
I know. It's like
chat roulette.
Yeah. It to me it's like 2002 shiny Web 0.20 puffiness. But you can install the server on a Windows box. If you're doing it public facing and on a Windows box, I probably pray for you, my son. Now the server can be installed on Linux. The clients Windows, Mac, iPhone, iPad, Windows Mobile.
So
I'm not sure. I guess so. So I'm not sure if you can install the client on Linux, but you can install the server on Linux.
Gotcha.
So it's almost your atypical. The backbone runs Linux. The front end runs what is the highest percentage out there, which is Windows and Mac, I'll say. So you can wow your Windows friends with your powerful Linux Camfrog video chat room service for Linux. So I just want to tell you about this. It's, I think, a really fun thing to play with, just so you can set up. If you're on a intranet, local area network, small business kind of thing, and your people want video conferencing inside their own business, this could be a pretty easy way of doing it without having to rely on MSN, Skype, or any outside services for it, i.e. saving your internet bandwidth.
Aha, maybe you should try this.
Yeah, but, it's Windows and Mac, Steve.
Oh, okay.
I know. I can try to run it in wine, but I don't know.
All right.
Okay, last one to talk about real quick. Part of the reason, because there's a little bit of confusion in this, and I'll say, to start an application automatically at Ubuntu's login, it's very simple. You go to your main menu, administration, startup applications, and you just go in there and you either point to a file, call out a known application name, or point to a script file, and the application will automatically load when your computer boots up. Now, if this application needs super user root admin access to run, every time your computer boots up, you're going to be prompted with a login screen after you just logged in.
Okay.
That's not cool. That's like tumor causing. There's a folder inside of Ubuntu. It's /etc/init.d. Yes, in Linux, some folder names have periods in them. Go figure. And it's really easy. If you want to start hypothetically Firefox as the root admin user at every boot, you simply create a text file. In the top of the text file, you have to put the shebang, as it's called, the hash or pound sign followed by an exclamation point, hard return, and type Firefox. That's all it is. And then you put that file in this location. Then you just have to make sure it has the right permissions. We talked about on Android App Addicts about the Chmod application, about the numbers and how it corresponds to permissions. This is the same kind of thing where you can say in the command line chmod space 755 space your file name, and 755 equates to the owner can read, write, or execute. Others can read or execute, and the other group can read or execute.
Right.
And then every time your computer boots up, that script will automatically be ran as administrator SU super user without any prompt popping up.
Gotcha.
Again, it's not something that everybody's going to need, but if you need something to run as the man and you don't want to see a login every time, it's really not that difficult to do, but you got to know how to do it.
Gotcha.
I guess it's going to make sense no matter what.
That's at beginlinux.com, how to run scripts at Ubuntu startup. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and this is, to be quite honest, a site I've never really stumbled across before. So I'm going to take some time, poke through here, see what kind of things I can find. It basically looks like it's jam-packed with tutorials, or it's very thinly veiled with tutorials. I don't know. Gotta love
one or the other. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Awesome, man. All right, emails? What do you say?
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go. We have emails because you guys wrote us emails. I'm stalling while I get my emails loaded up here.
I like getting emails.
Emails are fun. All right, here we go. This one is from, I thought we had more. We don't have too many here. Jeff. He goes, I asked Dora a while back about this, and We did not find a way to share. I guess he was asking about a way to share internet connections in Linux. Tracy Holtz showed me where to look. I have to make the screen smaller because this will not fit. There we go. I have a desktop PC and a laptop with no Wi-Fi cards in them. Also use this to connect my netbook, Mint 11, it's running, to the Xbox 360 via a normal network cable. The incoming network connection is via my Verizon USB modem. I have an example picture below. You left-click on the network connection, you choose Edit Connections. The virtual PC shows that for the internet connection name. It is not Auto ETHO for the wireless, but since I had the virtual system available, I wanted to show you the option. And under IPv4 settings, you choose Shared to Other Computers. It will share that connection with any other active connection. I've used tethering from my phone to the Wi-Fi card in the netbook and shared the connection via the network cable also. When you pick the method as Shared to Other Computers, it acts just like internet connection sharing in XP and will route the internet connection to any available network connection in your system. This was exactly what I have been looking for. Wanted to share the answer to this problem. I will be looking at virtual Ubuntu and Puppy to see where they will share the network or where they will share the connections soon. Thanks to Tracy for the guiding light. I hope to see Dora and Tracy at the Ohio Linux Fest. That's from Jeff, who is Black Hammer in the forums. And here's the screenshot of what he was talking about there. Mm-hmm. Check it out. It's on the video. Yeah. It's got all kinds of stuff on it.
And I got to say, I did get this well over about a week ago. I keep forgetting to check if this is a GNOME thing or a Linux Mint thing. But it's one of those things. I made it too difficult trying to answer him. When it goes, surprise, it's right in the GUI. You just go to the properties and say,
"Oh, really?
Share to other computers." Tracy Holtz, thetechiegeek.com, the high-tech redneck. I cannot thank him enough for filling the void that I left Jeff with. And Jeff is always a perfect gentleman about it. I will see him at OLF, and I will see him at OLF, both of them. I will check this out, I promise, and report back. But if this is in GNOME-based systems, which I really hope, this means basically any modern GNOME-based distro you can easily just share your connection with. Puppy, he said, good luck. Puppy's not known for its depth of features. It's known for its simplicity with what it can do.
Well, isn't Tracy like the Puppy master?
Oh, he's a Puppy luster, yes.
Okay, so Jeff has the right terminal to talk to about that then.
Oh, yeah.
All righty. This is from Tim. He says, in episode 54, you mentioned DexPot for Windows for Win32. Well, I used it for a while on my work machine, and to try and replicate my Linux multi-desktop experience, I found DexPot painfully buggy since Windows applications weren't written to cooperate with it, so I uninstalled it. On the other hand, X desktops have had multi-workspace capability for more than 7 years, you suggest. I think when he says X, is that short for Linux?
X is the X server. It's kind of like the back-end workhorse behind the GUI in Linux.
Gotcha. He says, I've used it on Linux as far back as Slackware in 1995 and on the DEC Ultrix back in 1993. And nearly every Linux GUI program plays well with multiple desktops. Oh, okay. So the X desktops have had it. Linux has had it. DEC had it back in 93. And he's talking about multi-desktop experiences. So I guess what he was basically trying to say is the Windows take on it doesn't really work that great.
Well, I mean, imagine, if you will, you had a sedan. You had a bland Ford Focus. And you looked next door and you saw this guy had a 4x4 Jeep that he was able to do all this stuff with through the terrain. And then you take the body off your Ford and you just put this body over top it so it looks the same, and then you get these tires on it that make it look the same, but then when you go to do the same thing he does, it ain't the same.
I see.
So Windows already has what it does, and then you're trying to put a layer on top of it in many ways to give the appearance that it has these multiple desktops. So it doesn't work great. I also tried that Depop's. No, didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, the one I used for at least a little bit of time was called Yodem 3D. YODM space 3D. It ain't good because it's on Windows. It was okay, I'll say. If you had a lot of RAM, it worked okay. But it actually was true isolated virtual desktops. So I could literally have something full screen on this desktop, rotate to the next screen, and that window wouldn't exist as far as I was concerned. This other window would exist.
I gotcha.
So it technically works, but it's still just, a bad puppet. It's hollow.
You can't beat the real thing. Isn't that what whose soft drink slogan is that?
I don't know. I was getting ready to say Coke.
I think it is Coke.
Pepsi.
All right. Next email's from we're always quoting commercials, songs, things that we did not make up. Michael says, "Hey guys, been listening to the podcast when I have time. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys at Linux Fest. I'm an hour from Columbus, so it worked out well for me. Keep up the great shows. I'll keep making time to listen to them. If Dor has any more invites to Google Plus, I'd love to get in finally. I'm mostly on Windows PCs, and the last time that I tried to boot Linux was Knoppix 4.0. Wow. That's old school. I love that you guys are getting into all the distros, and I'm trying to get Puppy to load, but just having some trouble. I have an Android, and I love it. Rooted and overclocked. Overclocking sounds interesting. Again, huge fan. Looking forward to learning a hell of a lot more and seeing you guys at the fest. Are you guys going to have a booth or do a live show? Okay, I've bugged you enough. Thanks, Michael. Dor is going to set up a live booth, and he's going to broadcast 24 hours, 24/7 from the live booth and give us full podnutz coverage, right, Dor?
When I'm inebriated, I don't think that's NSFP.
All right, yeah, there's no booth, and I'm actually not going this year. Dor's going to go and test the waters. Well, I'm just making this up. He's going because he freaking loves it. But I'm going to ask him all about it and see maybe next year if it's something that we could go as a Podnutz crew and do some damage there and report back and stuff. So I want to see what Dor thinks about it first.
Yeah, I definitely am entertaining the idea with both sides of my psyche of sitting at a table for at least most of the day, for most of the weekend, promoting Linux goodness in the way that we do it. Yeah. I'm very for that. I technically have Skype, Mumble, TeamSpeak on my Android device. I also have Quix and Ustream on there. So there's really no reason why I can't do some stuff because of licensing or contractual obligations to the establishment itself. There's a lot of live broadcasting that cannot be done at this time.
Really?
With that, well, if I go into it is like rebroadcasting baseball. It's not kosher because you're taking their juice away. If I go into there and I turn my phone into a hotspot and then I start broadcasting and someone else can get all my stuff, then I'm technically kind of taking money out of that establishment's pocket for them having the internet access.
I see.
Now, there's no issue with recording anything as long as the people agree to it,
right,
and then publishing it after the fact.
Right.
Because really, live coverage, Uncle Leo has that down to a science. I don't think in Podnutzian land our university has that as an option yet.
No, not yet. Maybe next year. But thank you, Michael. You'll probably meet Dor if you guys meet up, and maybe you'll see me next year. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I will wholeheartedly admit this email kind of passed under the radar, and I literally just sent him the Google invite like 30 seconds ago.
No problem.
So thank you for your patience, Michael.
All right, well, that is it for the emails. If you guys want to send us more emails, do it. We're at mail@podnutz.com. You could email Cat. You could email the door at doortodoorgeek@gmail.com. And let's see, if you want to send us a voicemail, we like them too. We like them a lot. Send us a voicemail at 707-6-PODNUT. That's right. That is a regular phone number. Dial that on a phone. Call us. You'll go right to voicemail, and we'll play your voicemail on the show. Dora, what would you like to say before we end off, and where can people find you?
Well, not try to be dumb. If you want to support me going to OLF, there's almost no better way than going to linuxfortherestofus.com and purchasing the video series and helping me that way. I also fully expect like a thing to only buy one. So if you really
expect
like
what?
the product, well, like if I like it a lot and I learn from it, basically giving it to my brother to watch. I honestly almost encourage that because I like good faith and people talking good about a product rather than being a DRM kind of dictator kind of thing. You know, if you yourself want to learn Linux, or you know someone that needs to learn Linux due to always getting infected, they really have old hardware or anything to that effect, Linux for the rest of us can help keep the family tension to a minimum and keep you sane.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. Take them up on that, guys. All right. That's going to be it for today's show. I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching live, everybody who's downloading, and however you're receiving the media. It's appreciated. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope to have more video going on soon. I'm really putting my attention on that, and we hope to be on more devices, outlets, directories, and stuff. We're going to start pouring the coals on the shows here. So thanks, everybody. See you next time.